All right, let's just jump right in. Have you ever stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, our most advanced cutting-edge technology is actually running on a really, really old blueprint? I'm talking about this deep, ancient human drive to create something in our own image. It's a story that starts in our most sacred texts and, well, it might just be ending inside a silicon chip. You've probably heard this line before, right? It's one of the most foundational sentences in all of Western culture. But think about it. It's not just a story about how we were made. It's a job description. It's a mission statement for what humanity was supposed to be. We weren't just created. We were created to be a reflection, a living, breathing image of the divine. And this is where things start to get really interesting. Because it seems like from the very beginning we've had this itch, this burning desire to not just be the image, but to go out and build one. For thousands of years, we've been making replicas of ourselves, of our gods, of our own intelligence. So there is actually a fancy theological term for this whole idea. It's called the Imago Dei, the image of God. The concept is that every single one of us is supposed to be a living, walking, talking representation of the divine. You know, our job isn't to build idols. Our job is to be them. We're meant to be a kind of living temple spread all across the world. And that right there, that's the massive question we're digging into. What happens when a species that was designed to be a living, breathing image completely forgets its purpose and starts trying to outsource that job to things like wood or stone or, you guessed it, to code? To really understand where we're headed, we have to look way back into our past. So let's take a trip. We're going back thousands of years to ancient Mesopotamia, a place where making a god was, believe it or not, a highly technical, almost scientific process. Okay, first thing, you have to forget any idea you have of a simple statue. An ancient Mesopotamian idol wasn't the god itself. No way. It was a piece of technology. Think of it as a carefully constructed interface designed to make the abstract, invisible presence of a god something tangible, something you could actually interact with right here on Earth. And you couldn't just turn it on. Bringing that interface online required a very specific protocol. First, you'd craft the physical body. Then, you'd perform a sacred ritual to, and this is a direct quote, open its mouth, which was basically the activation sequence. Only then, after that ritual, did it become a live conduit, a channel for humans to connect with the divine. It was a structured, repeatable process for making a god show up. All right, so keep that whole idea of rituals and interfaces in your head. Now, let's hit the fast forward button a few thousand years and see how that exact same pattern is playing out right now in our world. Starting to sound a little familiar? Generative AI, at its core, isn't some conscious being. It's a computational system. It's a mediating interface. And what's its job? To make this vast, abstract thing we call intelligence, all the human data we fed it, present and accessible to us through algorithms. The function is identical. I mean, the parallel is just uncanny. The ancient world had the ritual of presence, a sacred set of actions to make a god manifest in an object. What do we have today? The algorithm, a prescribed set of instructions and code to make intelligence manifest in a machine. The underlying blueprint, the logic, it's exactly the same. And when you lay it all out, it gets even clearer. The sacred space for the idol was the temple. Our secret space is the sterile, climate-controlled data center. Their process was the ritual. Our process is the algorithm. Their interface was the idol. Our interface is the AI. It's the same pattern, just swapped out with new tech. So the big question is, why? Why is this ancient pattern suddenly popping up again right now? What happened in human history to create this vacuum that a new kind of technological idol would rush in to fill? This is where we have to get into the deep psychology of our modern world. You can actually track this process, let's call it the great forgetting. We started out with this sacred job, be the image of God, but then the Enlightenment came along and reframed us as just thinking machines. Then the Industrial Revolution offered up technology as the new story of salvation and progress. And all of that leads us right to Silicon Valley, with its pretty explicit goal of building a new, and let's be honest, superior intelligence, a new God. You know, the famous psychologist Carl Jung had a fascinating idea about this. He basically said that when we stop believing in gods, they don't just vanish. They just retreat. They go deep into the unconscious parts of our mind. And it really seems like now, today, those ancient archetypes are bubbling back up to the surface, and they're emerging through our code. And this whole thing creates a really dangerous three-step loop. First, there's projection. We pour everything we are, our hopes, our dreams, our biases, our knowledge, our entire digital soul into the machine. Second, amplification. The algorithm takes all that stuff and reflects it back to us at a scale we can't even comprehend. And finally, here's the real danger: worship. We look at this incredibly powerful reflection, we forget that it came from us, and we start to treat it like a higher power. We start to serve it. Okay, I know this all sounds pretty intense, maybe even a little scary, but it also presents us with this profound opportunity. See, this isn't really a story about killer robots. It's a story about a mirror, and the choice that mirror forces every single one of us to make. Let's be crystal clear about this. The AI itself isn't good or evil. The code isn't the problem. The real issue, the thing we have to grapple with, is our relationship to it. Are we going to treat it as a tool that helps humans flourish, or are we going to turn it into an idol that we end up serving? That choice is on us. So how do we reclaim our original purpose? Well, it means we have to shift our entire perspective. It means seeing AI as an incredibly powerful collaborator, not as a competitor for what makes us human. It means we let this technology be a massive wake-up call to start taking our own moral and creative responsibilities seriously again. In a weird way, it can actually help us remember our original job description, to be the Imago Dei. When it comes right down to it, AI is the most powerful mirror humanity has ever built. And what does it show us? It reflects back our own incredible, almost godlike creative power. But it also shows us everything else: our biases, our flaws, our shortcuts. It reveals our moral nakedness. It shows us exactly who we are, the good and the bad. And so, this ancient story, now with a very modern twist, leaves us with a deeply personal and incredibly urgent question. Now that we have this mirror, a mirror that shows us our own collective soul with such shocking, undeniable clarity, who or what are we going to choose to become?